Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams to all the devotees. Thank you all for joining in. We'll start with the prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitum Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradhayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Dushe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale, Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim, Yatkrapatamaham Mande, Shri Gurun Dinatarinam, Paramananda Madhavam, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram, Harihi Om Tatsat. Hare Krishna. So thank you all for joining in. We have a couple of new joiners who joined today. So to just give an introduction to the book that we are reading currently, we are reading this book called The Path of Perfection by Srila Prabhupada. We are having these sessions from Monday to Friday at 12:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. We've completed close to 12 books of Srila Prabhupada, and we are currently on this book, The Path of Perfection. So this is as per the list of books and the order given by His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu that we are following the same order in the study of Srila Prabhupada's books. So we started Path of Perfection, this book on Vaikuntha Ekadashi. On that day we started this book. We've completed the first and the second chapter of this book. And the first chapter is entitled the Yoga as Action, wherein in a essence, if I were to tell what the Prabhupada actually mentions in Yoga as Action is, yoga is to be performed. Yoga means connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How do we connect with the Lord? Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam, Bhakti Ruchate. So Bhakti Yoga is action. That means I engage my senses in the service of the Lord, right? I'm not an armchair philosopher sitting down. I have all the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. I'm going to just, sit and give pravachan, right? Prabhupada said we are not armchair philosophers. What are we going to do? Why do we develop knowledge? Actually, today we were discussing how knowledge and renunciation, both are not essential for bhakti. But then why are we studying Prabhupada's books? This is giving us knowledge. We are studying Prabhupada's books because this is the knowledge that is going to further our bhakti. This is going to help us have the right consciousness as we are performing devotional service or as we are performing our even Swadharma, right? As a woman, as a mother, as a child, as a daughter, as a husband, as a man, as a grandfather, or as an employee of an organization, we can perform Bhakti Yoga. Why? Because there's only a change in the consciousness. Otherwise, we also do the same work done by any normal person who's not yet realized. Right? Everyone is originally Krishna conscious, but some of them have not yet realized. But there is no difference in the action between a devotee and a so-called person who's yet to realize. Right? What is the difference? The difference is only in the consciousness. A devotee does work, performs action for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then in the second chapter, entitled Mastering the Mind and Senses, Srila Prabhupada is talking about how the mind is the best of the friends of a person who's controlled it, and is the worst of the enemy for somebody who's not controlled the mind, right? And then finally, Prabhupada, we also spoke about how Prabhupada gives this analogy of a horse-driven chariot, right? Where the 5 horses represent the 5 senses, the reins represent the mind, the intelligence is the driver, and the passenger is the soul. Right? So if the mind is controlled by the intelligence, how will the intelligence control the mind? When the intelligence is purified, it can direct the mind properly. How is intelligence getting purified? The intelligence gets purified when we study scriptures. By the study of the scriptures, we purify our intelligence. With that purified intelligence, the intelligence directs the mind. And in this way, the mind directs the senses to perform action in Krishna consciousness. Right? Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. Right? For one who has conquered the mind is the best of friend. But one who has failed to do so, then shatrutve. That means the same mind will be the greatest enemy. Right? We are also giving the example of a knife. Right? The knife in the hands of a surgeon is going to save the life of the patient, whereas a knife in the hands of a thief is going to kill the other person. So any instrument or any object by itself is neither good nor bad, but what is the utility, in whose hands it is, that actually determines the utility of the particular object. Yeah. All right. So let's move on to chapter number 3. This chapter is entitled learning how to see God. So I will request devotees, whoever wants to read, you can raise your hands, and in this way we will go ahead. Okay, Rishabhanu Kanya Mataji, go ahead. So we are continuing from where we left off in this chapter number 2. We're talking about this Bandhuratmatmanastasya. In this verse, Krishna is also saying, and Prabhupada is quoting Lord Shri Krishna here, wherein if the mind is controlled, the mind is the best of friends. If the uncontrolled mind is the worst of the enemies, like that. Yes, go ahead, Mataji.
Bandhur, Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaiva atmanajita anatmanastu satrutve vartate
atmaiva shatruvat.
Vartet atmaiva satruvat. For him who has conquered the mind is the best friend. But for one who has failed to do so, his very mind will be the greatest enemy. Bhagavad Gita 6.6. The purpose of the yoga system is to make mind into a friend instead of an enemy. In material context, the mind is in kind of drunken condition, as stated in Chaitanya Charitra Mrut, Madhya Leela. Krishna Boli se jiva
anadi bahir mukha ateva maya tara deya samsara dukha.
Forgetting Krishna, the living entity has been attracted by the Lord's external feature from time immemorial. Therefore, the illusory energy, Maya, gives him all kinds of misery in his material existence. The living entity is constitutionally spirit soul, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. As soon as the mind is contaminated, the living entity, because he has a little independence, rebels. In this state, the mind dictates, why should I serve Krishna? I am God. Thus, one labors under a false impression and his life is spoiled. We try to conquer many things, even empires. But if we fail to conquer the mind, we are failure. Even if we manage to conquer an empire, even though emperors, we will have within us our greatest enemy, our own mind.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat pranam.
So here in this particular paragraph, Prabhupada is talking about how the mind is the best of the servant. Just like our mobile phone we were discussing the other day, isn't it? The mobile is the best of the servant, but it is the worst of the master, right? If we allow the control, if we don't have the right intelligence and use the mobile for the purpose that we want to use it for, then the mobile can ensure that we are glued to it the entire 24 hours. And then we are wondering, oh my God, how did my 24 hours go away? What did I do today? Isn't it? So this mobile is a very good servant, right? It serves a lot of purposes. It helps us join Zoom calls. It helps us access database. It helps us, if something urgent, if we have to communicate with somebody, it helps us in a lot of ways. But if we make the mobile our master, then the mobile will ensure that we are looking into it 24 hours and our time will get wasted, isn't it? So just like the mobile is a very good servant, but a very bad master, similarly, we can say that of the mind also. The mind is a very good servant, but a very bad master. Why is it a very good servant? Because if the mind is properly directed by purified intelligence, the mind can direct the senses to perform various services for the pleasure of the Lord. Whereas if the mind were given the mastership, right? Okay, whatever the mind tells me, I'm going to do it now. Right? Then the mind will drag us here, there, and everywhere. At the end of the day, we will realize that we've not accomplished anything. Why? Because the mind has taken us for a full jolly ride. Right? So here Prabhupada mentions a very beautiful point here. Even if we conquer the entire empire, right? If we don't conquer our mind, then everything will be lost. Right? Whereas if we are able to control our mind and conquer our mind, we will be able to conquer everything else, because things will go as per our plan. And the mind will not be stealing away that particular plan or whatever we plan to do that particular day or that particular month, whatever it may be. All right, let's go ahead. Okay, so who will read this? Sindhu Mataji, go ahead. Jitatmana prashantasya paramatma samahitah shitoshna sukha dukkeshu tatha mana apamanayoh. Sindhu Mataji, you have done
by mistake. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hari Bol, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Bhagavad Gita 6.7. Actually, every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. When the mind is misled by the external illusory energy, one becomes entangled in material activities. Therefore, as soon as one's mind is controlled through one of the yoga systems, one is to be considered as having already reached the destination. One has to abide by superior dictation. When the mind is fixed on the superior nature, he has no alternative but to follow the dictation of the Supreme. The mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. When the mind is controlled, one automatically follows the dictation of the Paramatma or the super soul, because this transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness. The devotee of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, distress and happiness, cold and heat, etc. This state is called samadhi, or absorption of the Supreme, in the Supreme.
Thank you, Mataji. So here there are a couple of verses in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, I am in the heart of every living entity. Right? Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matha smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Right? Krishna is saying, I am there, situated in the heart of every living entity. From me comes knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness. Right? Another verse in 18th chapter, Krishna says, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshe arjuna tishtati. Right? Again he says, in everybody's heart, I am situated, right, as a super soul. Right? So we have a choice, right? Krishna never interferes with our free will. Right? Krishna is Swarat. He is completely independent. And we are Mamevamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We are all parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hence, we also have this minute independence. We are small, infinitesimal parcels of the Supreme Lord. Hence, we also have this free will. Although we are not swatantra, we are not completely independent, but we have this minute independence, right? We decide what dress we want to wear, or we decide what we want to cook today to offer to the Lord, right? We decide small things we're able to decide, right? But the Lord never interferes with our independence. Why? Because the Lord does not want to force us to love Him, right? If somebody were to force us, we don't want to do something, but someone says, no, you have to do it, then we might do it, but there is no bhava, there is no emotion, there is no love, right? So Krishna does not want to force us to love Him, right? So Krishna says, you want to enjoy independently, you don't want to serve me, okay, let me create this material world for you, wherein there is a sun, there is a moon, there's this beautiful, there is this vegetables, fruits, everything else. Krishna has given us everything. Okay, you try to enjoy, but we cannot enjoy independent of Lord Sri Krishna. Why? Because that's a constitutional position. What is our constitutional position? Jivera Swarupa Hoye, Krishnera Nityadas. Right? We are supposed to be eternal servants of the Supreme Lord, and we can enjoy the best kind of enjoyment only when we serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? And we were seeing the example of how a hand that is connected to the body, right, serves is of use to the body. What if this hand is cut off and is lying on the ground? Can that hand have any value? No. Right? Just like a part of the machine, right? If one part of the machine, as long as it's connected to the machine, it will serve the purpose of what it has to produce. But if that part of the machine is broken down, right, the machine is in repair, right? But that particular part has completely lost its value, right? Another part, maybe if it will be fixed to the machine, and then the machine will run. But as far as this broken part is concerned, that part has no value. Similarly, we are all parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. As long as we dovetail our propensities in the service of the Lord, there is a value to our existence. But if we decide to enjoy independently and we don't regard the will of the Lord, we don't unite with the Lord in the interest to serve the Lord, then what happens? We become like that hand which is severed from the body. Right? Because although the Lord is present in our heart as a super soul, what are we doing? We are not listening to the super soul in the heart. Why are we not listening? Because we have clouded our heart with various anarthas like lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion. In this way, we have clouded our heart. So you're not able to hear the voice of the Lord. The Lord is always guiding us, but we are not able to hear the voice of the Lord. Right? And how can we know the difference between a devotee and a person who's yet to realize that he is a part and parcel of the Lord? Is Sitoshna Sukha Dukkada. Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Sitoshna Sukha Dukkada Agama Paino Anitya Stam Titikshashwa Bharata. Titikshwa means one who tolerates the dualities of material existence, happiness and distress, heat and cold. Right? When a person is able to tolerate this and continue the process of devotional service, that person is said to be in samadhi. Not a person who sits down like this, closes the eyes and sits down like that, right? Half the time when we do that, we are already sleeping. We are in extreme tamoguna. We've gone to sleep. We don't know what is happening in our own body. Forget being absorbed in the Supreme, right? So what is actual samadhi? Actual samadhi is being in the vacant state and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and being completely absorbed in the holy names of the Lord. And what is the result of that? That result, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, right? How much are we not attached to the results of our activities? How much are we sthira? How much are we able to tolerate all the conditions of material existence, happiness, heat, cold, etc.? And how are we absorbed in the Supreme by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's what it is. Okay, Sridhar Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Dhanvat Pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dhanvat
Jnana
Vijnana Triptatma Kutasto Vijitendriya Yuktaiti Yuchyate Yogi Sama Loshtrashma Kanchanaha. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi for mystery when he fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such person is situated transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it is pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. Bhagavad Gita 6.8. Book knowledge without realization of supreme truth is useless. This is stated as follows. Other Sri Krishna other Sri Krishna nama namati na bhavat grahyam indriyat indriyat
Yeah, Prabhu, I'll read it, Prabhu.
seva muktena hi jit seva mukte
Jivado.
jitvantu swayam eva supre aha.
Yeah. So,
One
go ahead.
can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastime of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord and the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastime of the Lord revealed to him. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2234.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Dandavad Pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Dandavad Pranam. So, there's a beautiful verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, right? What does it say? Ata Shri Krishna Nama Adi. That means Shri Krishna, his Nama. Nama means the holy name of the Lord. And Adi. Adi means along with Nama, Rupa, Guna, Madhurya, everything else of the Lord. Na bhave grahyam indriyahi. We cannot understand the holy names of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, the form of the Lord, the sweetness of the Lord, simply by engaging in activities using our material senses. Na bhaved, cannot understand. Na bhaved grahyam indriyahi. Grahyam means to digest, to understand something, basis our material senses. Indriya means senses. We cannot understand the pastimes of the Lord simply by our material senses, our material intelligence, our material senses. We cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can we understand? Sevon mukhehi jivvadau. Sevon mukhe means using our mouth, using our tongue if we render service to the Lord. Jiva means tongue. Swayam eva suratyataha. That means the Lord will automatically reveal himself. Swayam eva. He or he himself will reveal himself. How will he reveal that? He will reveal to the extent he is pleased by our devotional service. Especially the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Swayam eva suratyadaha. Right? That's why Advaita Acharya, he actually prayed to Lord Krishna. Krishna, you only directly come. Otherwise, it is not possible to deliver these people of the age of Kali, right? Because you're so manda sumanda matayo manda bhagyo pudrata. You're so misguided. They are so quarrelsome. They are so lazy. Very, very difficult for anybody to bring them to Krishna consciousness. Oh Lord Krishna, you have to personally come. And hearing the cries of Advaita Acharya, Chaitanya Krishna came in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's non-different from Krishna, and he came in the most munificent form, especially for the people in the age of Kali, right? So, Swayam eva suratyadaha. The Lord has to reveal himself, not through anybody, right? Generally, the Lord sends, his Shakti Vesh avatars, right? Shakti Vesh avatars means he empowers some transcendental potency into certain individuals, some jivas, because they have performed nice devotional service. They come to this world and propagate the mission of Krishna consciousness. But in Kali Yuga, especially, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, has come in his Swayam form, in his original form, to actually reveal the yajna for this age of Kali. What is that? Yajna Sankirtana Prayed Yajantihi Su Medasaha. The most intelligent people will take up the process of Sankirtana as enunciated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Right? In this way, when we chant Hare Krishna, the Lord will reveal himself to us. If the Lord does not reveal, any amount of endeavor from our part is waste. Right? We all remember last month, Damodar month. Right? We saw how Mother Yashoda was trying to bind Krishna. She could not bind Krishna. She is the mother of Krishna. She could not bind Krishna. When was she able to bind Krishna? Only when Krishna saw the endeavor of Mother Yashoda. Oh, she is so bulky. In Krishna book, it is mentioned. It's described very nicely. Mother Yashoda is bulky, and she must be in her, in her middle age, right? Whereas Krishna is a small boy, he's running away here and there. But Krishna, when he saw, oh, my mother is, in spite of being so tired, in spite of being so breathless, in spite of running for so long, she's not giving up. She wants to conquer me. And seeing this endeavor of Mother Yashoda, the Lord allowed himself to be bound by the ropes of love of his mother. Right? Similarly, when we show our sincerity to the Lord by chanting Hare Krishna Mantra every day during Brahma Muhurta, by studying Srila Prabhupada's books, by following ABCD square principles, right? Association of Devotees, studying Srila Prabhupada's books, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, offering bhoga and honoring only Krishna Prasadam, and by performing devotional service, then what happens? The Lord will reveal himself to us. That is the only way of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All right. Let's move ahead. Who wants to? Navkishori Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
There are men in the modes of, yeah.
There are men in the modes of goodness, repulsion, and ignorance, and to reclaim all these conditional souls, there are 18 Puranas. 6 Puranas are meant for those of mode of goodness, 6 of those in the mode of passion, and 6 of those in the mode of ignorance. The Padma Purana is written to those in the mode of goodness, because there are many different types of men. There are many different Vedic rituals in the Vedic literature. So there are description of rituals and ceremonies in which goat may be sacrificed in the presence of the goddess Kali. This is described in the Markandeya Purana, but this Purana is meant for instruction of those in this mode of ignorance. It is very difficult for one to give up the attachment at all at once. If one is addicted to meat eating and is suddenly told that he must not eat meat, he cannot do so. If one is attached to drinking liquor and is suddenly told that liquor is no good, he cannot accept this advice. Therefore, in the Puranas, we find certain instructions that say, in essence, all right, if you want to eat meat, just worship to Goddess Kali and sacrifice a goat for her. Only then can you eat meat. You cannot eat meat just by purchasing it from the butcher shop. No, there must be sacrifice or restrictions. In order to sacrifice a goat to the Goddess Kali, one must make arrangements for certain dates and utilize certain paraphernalia. That type of puja or worship is allowed on the night of the dark moon, which means once a month. There are also certain mantras too, be chanted when the goat is sacrificed. The goat is told, your life is being promoted to a human form. Generally, in order to attain the human form, a living entity has to pass through many species of life. On the evolutionary scale, living entity has to pass through many species of life on the evolutionary scale. Sorry, Matani. But if a goat is sacrificed to the Goddess Kali, he is immediately promoted to the human form. The mantra also says you have the right to kill this man who is sacrificing you. The word mamsa indicates that in his next birth, the goat will eat the flesh of the man who is presently sacrificing him. This in itself should bring the goat eater to his senses. He should consider, why am I eating this flesh? Why am I doing this? I will have to repay with my own flesh in another life. The whole idea is to discourage one from eating meat. Thus, because they.
Thank you so much. Very good. So here the laws of karma, right? Very, very clearly delineated, right? In a very scary way, isn't it? What is the law of karma? As we sow, so shall we reap, isn't it? So here, because of the indiscriminate killing of animals, just because one wants to enjoy, the pleasure of the tongue, right? Or to want to kill an animal and taste the flesh. If one engages in such kind of sense gratification, then actually one is actually asking the particular animal that one is sacrificing, that you get the right to kill me in my next birth. So in this way, Prabhupada is giving this gory details to help us understand how horrible, or it is to actually eat another living entity. Right? When Krishna has clearly told in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati Nadaham Bhakti Upahritam Ashnami Priyatatmanaha. Right? Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, you offer me Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. Right? Offer me fruit, vegetables, water. In this way, I will accept it, and then you honor Krishna Prasadam. And in this, what happens? We get out of the cycle of Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi. Right? Otherwise, we don't know what kind of form we will get in our next life. Right? In this life, we have the Association of Devotees, we have ISKCON, we have Srila Prabhupada's books. Right? We have everything that we can ask for. So we have to ensure that we perfect our life in this lifetime only and go back to Godhead. Right? Here, why is it mentioned? He has mentioned about the three kinds of Puranas. Right? Generally, the devotees of the Lord, like even in this beautiful Bhagavatam verse that Prabhupada quotes in the Markandeya Bhagavat, he states, Sitam Sattve Prasidati. Right? First of all, we have to be situated in the Sattvic mode. Then it becomes easy for us to jump to the Shuddha Sattvic mode. Right? So Sattvic mode, the scripture that is prescribed is the Padma Puran. Because the Padma Puran clearly tells what is to be done by a person who is in the Sattvic mode. And then there is this Markandeya Purana, other Puranas, which are for, there are 6 kind of Puranas for the people in the mode of passion and the people in the mode of ignorance. Right? Because they are not able to immediately jump up from where they are. Their consciousness is to have meat every day. So they slowly get evolved, and once in a month on some Amavasya night where it is prescribed in the Tamasic Puran, they offer a go to Mother Kali, and then they have, right? In that way, at least they regularize, and then slowly, after practicing this, after reducing the content or the amount of frequency, then slowly they move towards Rajasic platform, and they slowly move towards Sattvic platform, right? But one thing in this, the advantage in this age of Kali, right? Whether one is a Chandala, whether one is a dog eater, or whether one is when is in the lowest stage of life, even then, if one is fortunate to meet a spiritual master who is able to who gives him this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and he starts chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then one need not go down from one need not go from Tamasic to Rajasic and Rajasic to Sattvic. One immediately can be transformed to the Shuddha Sattvic platform, depending upon what is the Shraddha, what is the level of faith that a person is having in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. All right, so let's continue reading this. More details about the Puranas and what is the medicine for it. Shobha Mataji, we'll end with you. Go ahead. Oh, please unmute. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam Mataji, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thus, because there are different types of men, there are 18 Puranas to guide them. The Vedic literatures are meant to redeem all men.
Not just a few. Mataji, you got muted. Please unmute.
May there?
Yeah, please go ahead.
All he prescribes different medicines according to the disease. It is not that he gives the same medicine for all diseases or that he treats just one disease. No, he offers a specific type of medicine for all diseases, or that he treats. No, he offers a specific type of medicine to whomever comes, and the patient receives gradual treatment. However, the Sattvic Puranas like the Padma Purana are meant for those in the mode of goodness, for those who are immediately capable of worshipping Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Brahma Samhita 5.1, it is stated, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. The Supreme Controller is Krishna, who has an eternal spiritual body. This is the Vedic pronouncement, and we thus accept Sri Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance attempt to imagine the form of God. And when they are confused, they say, oh, there is no personal God. God is impersonal or void. This is just the result of frustration. Actually, God has his form, and why not? According to the
Vedanta Sutra.
Janmadri Yasya Yataha, the Supreme Personal Absolute Truth is He from whom everything emanates. It is easy to see that we have different types of bodies, different types of forms. We must consider where these forms are coming from. Where have these forms originated? We have to use a common sense question. Unfortunately, because people are frustrated, they try to imagine some form. So they conclude that because this material form is temporary and troublesome, God must be formless. Indeed, because all forms in this material world must perish, God of necessity must be formless.
Yeah. So here, Prabhupada is actually talking about how the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be formless. Right? Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam advam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdate. Of course, the Brahman is also an aspect of the Lord, but it is the least realization of the Supreme Lord. Higher than the Brahman is the realization of the Paramatma feature of the Supreme Lord, which is the super soul aspect. And higher than the realization of the Paramatma aspect is actually the understanding that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Person, right? He is also a Purusha, Ishvara, Parama Krishna, Sachit Ananda Vigraha. He has a form which is Sat Chit and Ananda, which is completely spiritual, which is completely full of bliss and knowledge and eternity. He is a person, right? And Prabhupada gives a very logical question here, that when we all have forms, we are all parts and parcels of the Lord. How is it that when we have form, our source, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how is it that the Supreme Lord will not have a form? It does not make sense, right? So it is very easily and understandable that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has a form. Right? So here Prabhupada is saying people are frustrated because they think that the Supreme Lord does not have a form, and they have a form, right? Because this body, the form that we have, which is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether, right? Because this body is causing us so much of trouble, what do we think? Oh, we have to get rid of this body. And the Supreme Lord cannot have a body. Why? Because if we are undergoing so much of trouble, then the Lord also must be undergoing trouble if he has a body. Right? But what is not understood here is our body is made up of Bhumi, Rapo, Nalo, Vayu, Kam, Mano, Buddhi, Revacha, right? We have these 5 gross elements made a material body, and we have this mind, we have this intelligence, which are material. But for the Supreme Lord, there is no difference between the Lord and his body, because his form itself is Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. So the Lord has a form. And why does this concept of Nirguna come? Nirguna means the Lord does not have a material form. The Lord's form is completely spiritual. The Lord's form is completely transcendental. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti ma meti so Arjuna. We can also get our spiritual form if you understand that the birth, the appearance, the activities of the Supreme Lord are all divya. They are all transcendental. Right? The Lord is not subject to Maya. Why? Daiviha yeshu gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. Right? The Lord tells in Bhagavad Gita that this divine energy of mine, Maya Devi, right? She is my energy. Daiviha yeshu gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. She is my energy, and it is very difficult to overcome the Lord's energy. But the Lord says, Mameva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. One who surrenders unto me, such a person is able to overcome the 3 modes of material nature and come back to me. That's what is Krishna saying in Bhagavad Gita. So that's what is mentioned here also by Prabhupada. What does he say? The Lord has a supreme form, and this Maya is the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when we have forms, how is it that the Supreme Lord will not have a form? Yeah. All right. So anyone else wants to read? We will conclude at 1:15. One or two more people can read actually. Okay, let read. Are there any other devotee who wants to read? May raise your hand. Okay, the Brahma. Okay, Karpagavali Mataji, go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji.
Mataji, you need to unmute yourself.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. And the Brahma Samhita 5.1 specifically states that this conception is a mistake. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. God has form, but his form is Sachidananda Vigraha. Sat means eternal, Chit means knowledge, and Ananda means pleasure. God has form, but his form is eternal and is full of knowledge and pleasure. We cannot compare his form to our form. Our form is
neither eternal.
Neither eternal.
Mataji, your voice is breaking,
different.
Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Full of traveling, Mataji, full of pleasure, not full of knowledge. Therefore, God's form is different.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Vrishabhanu Kanya Mataji, go ahead.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam.
Thanks.
As soon as we speak of form, we think that form must be like ours, and we therefore conclude that the eternal, all-knowing and all-blissful God must be without form. This is not knowledge, but the result of imperfect speculation according to the Padma Puran. Ataha Sri Krishna Namadi Na Bhaved Grahyam Indriyahi. One cannot understand the form, name, quality, or paraphernalia of God with one's material senses. Since our senses are imperfect, we cannot speculate on him who is supremely perfect. That is not possible. Then how is it possible to understand him?
Sevonmukhi Jivadau.
Jivadau. By training and purifying our senses, we may come to understand and see God. But presently, we are attempting to understand God with impure, imperfect senses. It is like someone with cataracts trying to see. Just because one has cataracts, he should not conclude that there is nothing to be seen. Similarly, we cannot presently conceive of God's form, but once our cataracts are removed, we can see. According to the Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilokani Santaha Sadeva Hardresu Vilokayanti. The devotee whose eyes are anointed with ointment of love of God can see God within their hearts 24 hours a day. Purification of the senses is what is required. Then we can understand the name, form, qualities, and pastime of God. Then we will be able to see God everywhere and in everything. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So, thank you so much. So, we are able to, the Lord is there everywhere, right? Even if the Lord comes and stands in front of us, we will not be able to recognize the Lord. Why? Because our eyes, the material eyes, we are not able to see the Supreme Lord. Even Arjuna, for that matter, in order to show him the Vishwarupa, Krishna had to give him special vision. Right? And Krishna was personally present even before Duryodhana as well as Arjuna. While Arjuna could see Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Duryodhana thought that, he is my competitor, right? Let me compete with Krishna like that. So even if the Lord comes and stands before us, we will not be able to recognize that this is the Lord because we don't have the transcendental vision. But how can we see the Lord? Like we already discussed, Sevonmukhi Jivada Swayameva Suratyadaha. When the Lord reveals himself to us, then we will be able to actually see the Lord. But if the Lord is in front of us but is disguised, then we will not be able to see the Lord. Just like Duryodhana could not see the Lord even when the Lord was personally standing in front of him. All right. So here we will end our today's session. So tomorrow we'll continue with our chapter number 3. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gurudev ki jai, Ananta Kochi Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. So let's see who all we have today.
Saturday, Mataji. Tomorrow
Tomorrow.
Saturday.
Okay. We'll meet on Monday morning. Yeah. Somehow I'm forgetting tomorrow Saturday. In all the classes is happening. Okay.
Monday,
so we'll meet on
Monday
Monday
morning. Happy New Year, Monday.
Happy Krishna Conscious New Year. Let's remember Krishna more in the upcoming New Year.
Yes.
But we will meet in Ramamurtha session tomorrow morning. You're joining 5 o'clock, right?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So whom all do we have? We have Sindhu Mataji. We have Vrishabhanu Kanya Mataji, Shobha Mataji, Sarvagopeshwari Mataji, Sridhar Prabhu, Sneha, Mataji, Karpakavalli Mataji, all right. Thank you so much. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Shri Gurudeva ki, Jai Ananta Koji Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So meet at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning for our Brahma Murta chanting session. Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Shri Harinam Prabhu ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.
And anyone has any queries, questions, you can ask. Sarvagopishri Mataji, you want to say something?
Yesterday, the way you expressed about Guru Maharaj, it's so wonderful, Mataji. Very nicely, we were immersed with that. Really happy, and you have got a lot of association with that. Okay, Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thanks.
Mataji, Hare Krishna. Mataji, you told that Lord will reveal to us only when we are, with a material eyes, we cannot. But actually, when we are chanting, the Lord is already present, right? I mean, the Lord names and Lord are non-different. That's what we have heard.
Yeah, so the Lord is there in our heart, but are we able to hear the Lord? The Lord is in front of us. The Lord is in holy names. But are we getting that? If we are getting the taste of the holy name of the Lord, then we should, like Rupa Goswami should say, Tunde Tandavali Ratim Vitanute Tundavali Labdaye Karana Kroda Kadam Vini Gatayate. Right? We should be saying, I want millions of mouths. Oh, why is it I have only one mouth? I want millions of mouths. Why I have only 2 years? I want millions of years. I can't stop chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When that is the case, then we've actually realized. That the name of the Lord and the Lord's form are one and the same. Right now, it is there in the brain. It has to percolate and go down to the heart. And when our heart accepts it sincerely, then we will not be able to stop chanting Hare Krishna. That is the time when we are actually realizing that Abhinatva Nama Namino, the Lord and His holy names are non-different. Until such time, we practice. We are sadhaka bhaktas. When we become raganuga bhaktas, that time we will have this spontaneous love for the Lord. We will have realizations. The Lord and His names are non-different, like that. Okay, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai.
Krishna conscious New Year to one and all devotees, Mataji. Happy
Krishna conscious New Year to all the devotees. And we'll meet tomorrow morning 5 a.m. for Brahma Murta. It's not yet New Year, 30th cycle. Okay? All right. Hare Krishna.